Hey people, Riley here from the Awesome Players in Montreal. Cheers. I see we have somewhere around 30-40 people watching, so thanks for joining us. I hope the audio's okay. If you guys can just chime in the chat there and let me know if the picture and the sound and all of that stuff is working, that would be lovely. So I thought I'd start off by saying I hope everybody's safe and your families are healthy, and I guess there's been enough talk about the virus that we don't really want to talk about that here. We're all here because we don't want to talk about it. So I thought I'd start off by kind of explaining the format for today. If you're watching on Facebook, and I think we're streaming to Facebook, I don't know, it's hard for me to monitor all of this stuff at the same time. If you're on Facebook and you want to chat, switch over to the YouTube feed. The link is in the Facebook chat, because then at least I'll be able to see your comments here. So who am I seeing here? We got Jason, who's one of the players here in Montreal. We got Adam. We got Vlast. Hey, Vlast. How's it going? No, Vlast. I'm not using my A7R. I'm using a Sony FS5 for the main camera here. I'm glad the picture looks good. We got Crispy Adventure, Joshua, Eric, Alan, Rick, Adam. Hey, Adam Seal. Beer, how are you? So the format is going to be, I'm going to introduce two other players who live here in Montreal. So we're going to have Super Dave and Ivan. We'll do a little chat, and then I've got a 15-minute video, which is part 3 of our maintenance series about trying to get Chris's HP2 running. And after we watch that, we can talk about that video and you can ask us any questions. And I've got some things here that we can talk about. So a lot of people have asked about the douche rope, some of our camera gear. So I've got a bunch of that stuff that we can talk about later. So let's talk about our first guest. Our first guest is Super Dave. So Super Dave signed on with the Awesome Players in 2014, and one of the fun things about being in the Awesome Players is it's very easy for me to go back into the archive and figure out when you joined, because pretty much all of our rides are videotaped. So I went back on the old computer yesterday and I managed to dredge up the actual clip where we first met Super Dave when he was just Dave. And not many people know that it's really not Super. It's Supper Dave. When you see Dave in the videos, you'll understand why. It's just the British pronunciation. So Supper Dave, when we first met him, let me cue that up. And
You're a douchebag.
Here we go.
I told you it was shiny.
Wow. You weren't lying when you said it was shiny.
No, I was not lying when I said it was shiny, because it needs to be before and after.
Yes.
Very clean.
Holy, it's got the white lithium on the chain. Yikes. The bottom of the center stand still has paint.
It's a repaint. How are you?
Chris, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Riley, at last.
Nice to meet you.
Joe.
Nice to meet you, Jay.
All right, we just got to install some comms on his helmet because he was late.
Yes, as usual. Due to traffic.
Not children?
No, it's not the child, it's the wife that's the problem.
The child producer? I'm not editing that out.
Yeah.
There you have it. The very first meeting with Super Dave. So now, we've got a lot of sources here going on. So Super Dave is actually coming to us live from his garage. So let me punch Super Dave's audio on and let's go to Super Dave. What's up, Dave? Dave!
Hey, Riley. God Almighty, that was a terrible clip, wasn't it? I mean, such a shiny bike. It was embarrassing. When I look back on it now, that is embarrassing. How shiny that was.
Yeah,
this
that
is looking
was
pretty clean at the moment.
Yeah,
But,
that's not. And for people
it
watching,
hasn't been out for 5 months.
no, that's not the same bike. But Dave literally showed up on that first ride with a bike that still had the factory white lithium grease on the chain. Now, every now and then we meet people on the web who want to ride with us, and we can usually figure out pretty quick if they're going to be a good fit. So I actually have a clip of Dave's first crash. So let me jump over there and let's take a look at Dave's first crash. Oh, man down.
And Dave got a little wiggly there, and you can see by the skid mark he got on the brakes. I think he actually felt like he was charging up on Joe a little too much. So he got on the brakes, and of course the ABS was off. So the rear wheel locked, and the front wheel I think skidded a bit too, and down he went.
We have a man down.
This is the moment where you usually find out how the new guy is going to fit in by watching how he reacts to that first fall.
Hold on. Hold on, boys. There we are. So we're back. So that was Dave's first crash. What do you think, Dave? Is that bringing back some memories?
It's a pretty simple crash, wasn't it, really? I mean, I've done much more spectacular events than that since, you know. But yeah, that brings back some memories.
Good. Yeah.
Super embarrassing.
Well, you know what? We got 118 people watching right now, which is the most we've ever had watching one of these events, proving people are bored out of their minds. We've got, I will massacre this name, Hiroyuki from Japan. We got Chris Drake, who, as you know, is one of the players here in Montreal.
Morning, Chris.
Vlas likes your helmet, Dave. We've got Uneasy Rider from Picton in Ontario. So welcome, everybody. Yes, Dave's. And actually that helmet which is the...
Helmet number 2.
That? Is that the Scorpion 950?
Scorpion 950. It's helmet number 2. Because the original one, I broke it.
Nice.
It saved my head, but I did break it. So it did well, and I like it.
It looks like your head might have taken a little damage, but I guess the helmet helped.
Oh, I was born like that.
So, it was funny watching that old video clip because I remember, we met Dave, we went for this little ride, and then Dave had his little fall on the Scotch Road, which is where we usually take most of the new guys. And then we just decided, well, how far are we going to go with Dave? So this is a guy with a brand new bike, has pretty much zero off-road experience, but he seemed like a good sport. So let me just cut to a clip that was a little later that same morning. Where are we here? Yep. There we go. All right. So take a look at Dave that same day.
Then it was Dave's turn.
Now to learn what 500 pounds really is.
Even though the last 2 bikes to go through here hadn't really required much effort, we somehow came up with the genius idea that we wouldn't just follow the groove we'd already made. We were going to get Dave's bike out of the groove onto this kind of virgin territory on the side and try a different route that was somehow going to be easier.
So we'll go straight up and over here.
Initially, everything went right to plan, and Dave was able to feather the throttle, and we got the bike up on the side of the trail here, out of that trench.
Bloody lovely. Hold on. I really think it's right. I think you're right. Won't be as good on video, but might involve less lifting. I'm all for that.
I'm not sure if the side of the trail was any better than the trail itself, but with Chris pushing and Dave running the controls and Riley on the rope, We managed to pull the F650 out of there in about as much time as if we had just stayed in the original groove.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Back her up. That's where this rope is a key.
Once again, the douche rope had proved its usefulness and gotten us out of a nasty jam. Not to say that you couldn't get out of a situation like that without the douche rope, but it was certainly going to be a lot more work.
And we're back. So, Dave, there was your bike on the very first day, laying on its side in the mud. That was... I mean, what was going through your mind? This is your first ride with a bunch of strangers.
I was thinking I was probably going to get murdered and buried in the woods, never to be seen again. To be honest, it was a little bit disturbing, but boy, did I have a lot of fun. I came home absolutely covered in mud. The bike was filthy. It was just great giggles. It was one of the best days ever. It was great.
Dave really knows how to stick to the script. That was very well read, Dave. So let me just jump back into the comments here. What do we got? We have the Netherlands. We got Minnesota. Yes, Bill. Timmy's is open, but only the drive-through. There's a story behind the name of the douche rope. Yes, there is a story, because if you're on the end of the douche rope, you're the... Yes, exactly. So... we have one more guest who's been patiently waiting in the wings, and that is Ivan. So, I have a little video clip about the first time we met Ivan. So let me cue that up, and everybody get ready to meet player Ivan.
Well, we all made it to the start, so before we go any further, let's meet the team.
Ça roule!
Super Dave, this is my bike. This is the last time this one will be off-road. This is going to get sold as a one owner, highly cared for, looked after machine.
Never dropped?
Never dropped. Never, ever, ever has it been dropped. It's in superb condition.
Meticulously clean.
Super Dave. What can I say about Super Dave? He actually was planning on selling his bike right after this event. Dave didn't have too much experience. He'd ridden with us a few times last year. Dave would have a rough day.
Who are you? Hey, this is Ivan. On the forums, it's Sideways Control, which is a nickname that came from the rally world, but car rally. So, anyways,
And what kind of bike you bring today?
a modified KTM 690. So it's modified with the KTM Basel rally kit. Lots of fuel capacity. Lots of fun.
You're not going to drop it today, are you?
Oh, maybe. Why not? Yeah, we're part of the awesome players, apparently, so something has to happen, obviously.
Ivan I'd never met before, but he seemed like a really nice guy. He had a very nice bike. And even though he had been involved with motorcycling for a while, I think he'd only been doing off-road for about a season or two.
All right, folks, that was when we met Ivan for the first time. Let me get Ivan's camera here organized. Where is Ivan? And oh, there he is. Hey, Ivan, how are you?
Morning.
You doing booster?
Just a little bit.
Just a smidge, just to get rid of the shakes?
Yeah.
All right, well, if you're doing
It's chilly
booster...
this morning. It's still 3 degrees outside, and it's in the garage. It's not very warm.
And this is for you, Dave. Dave has always wanted to be in a three-way, so Dave...
I thought it was going to be much better than this, to
true.
be honest.
All right, well, if Ivan's getting some booster, I'm going to do some booster. Now, with the shutdown of everything, I've been slowly going through the cabinet, and we've actually gotten to this point. Ugh. Somebody gave me this for Christmas 2 years ago. It's never been opened. Woo! Ugh. All right, they got to be able to do something with it. Let's give this a shot. And, ooh. Cheers. You know what? It's not bad. All right. So, back to you guys. Did you guys feel the earthquake this morning?
Nope.
No, there was an earthquake at 3 a.m., man. I woke up. It was 7 kilometers from downtown Mascouche. All right, before we go a little farther, let's go back to the chat. Yes, Riley is not as fat as he was last year. Thanks for noticing. Less chinnage.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
Thank you. The HP2 is still sitting there behind Ivan in the garage. Yes, there it is.
It is. Right
that
there.
Bike. Anyone in the greater Montreal area, if you need free bike storage, I'll put up Ivan's phone number at the end of the video. You can store it there for years, apparently, with no charge. It's one of the many services Ivan offers to associate members as well as full members. We got one more clip, Ivan. I didn't have a good clip.
Oh boy.
I didn't have a good clip of you going through that gnarly section, but I think that was the 2015 Classique, and that was such a awesome ride. And it was a bit interesting because there was myself, Chris, and Jason, who all knew each other, but everyone else on our 10-man team were just placed with us, and it ended up being an awesome group. And a lot of those guys now we know quite well, and they've been riding with us for quite a while. So, Ivan, let's cue this baby up. This was the section everybody remembers from the Classique in 2015.
Next, it was my turn on the F800 GS to give it a shot. I'm not sure if seeing everyone else helps or just psychs you out a bit. And I was doing all right, and then I mistimed a little clutch drop and spun it. This is when it's real nice to not be riding alone.
One. Oh, no, that was not what we used to do. That was not the plan. Go! Go!
Shit!
One more pull, boys. One more pull. Then get out of the way. 1, 2, 3. Go!
Luckily, there was a big rock there to break my fall. As you can hear, spirits were still quite high.
So there you saw Ivan in that clip. Ivan's clip of crossing that section was super boring because he actually did it without crashing, because Ivan was new and he didn't understand the awesome player's motto, which is bad riding makes great video. So what do we got comment-wise? Yes, Mr. Drake, or Miss Drake, that is Jägermeister. It's not just for breakfast anymore. So boys, what else is going on? Ivan, you're in the shop there. Your bikes are ready for the new season?
Honestly, no. And this is, I think, the first time it's not ready. Maybe because it's just we're bored to hell and we can't go ride out all that much anymore because of this isolation thing, and so there's not much to do. A few things to put back on, but technically, no, I'm not ready. And it's still cold and miserable outside anyway. So,
what about you, Dave?
She's ready. She's been out a couple of times already, but just around the blocks, just for something to do other than else. But she's ready to go for the season, except for the tyres. She's got the winter. She's got the street tyres on at the moment, but ready to go if we ever get out.
Yeah, well, it was kind of sad that the big opening event for us traditionally is the Classique, which you just saw that clip of, and it was canceled. So, and this year it was going to be a 2-day event, 700 riders, and Mark and all of his team there who do the Classique and all those people with Ride Aventure, man, they had done already so much work on that job. And then this Wednesday, we all got the notification that it was canceled. Now, somebody asked here in the chat, it was Sid. Hey, from Cologne, Germany. Riley, what about some new old video footage? Come on. Well, in a few moments, we will have a little 15-minute video which we shot last September. We shot that in Ivan's garage. So we're going to roll that, and after that we'll come back and do a little more chat, answer any questions. So you're going to have 15 minutes to think of anything you want to ask us about or talk about. I got a few props here we can talk about, and we'll do that. So boys, I don't know if you guys want to say anything before we roll to the next video.
I'm going to go and get some more coffee.
Yeah, it's true. It's going to be 15 minutes.
I'm in the garage.
I've already seen the video, so...
So I haven't seen it, but I have to improvise. The garage is 100 feet from the house, so I got out the jet boil to make myself my coffee, because this is the first adapter you buy with the jet boil is the coffee press, and it's all good. You know, isolation. It's like camping. Voila.
Nice. All right. Well, let's just jump into the chat a little bit here. Hey, we have someone from India. Man, I don't think we've really had someone from India. And Chris is actually in the chat. I've seen him. But at some point, having too many live guests coming in get a little messy. So I think the next time we do one of these, if this is a success, we will have Chris and Jason or some of the other guys. Hey, 165 people watching, which is pretty cool. Wow. All right. So let's go to the video, and boys, I will mute your audio during the video, so if you need to void anything or do whatever, we will not be sharing that. So let's get that queued up, and we'll see you on the other side in about 15 minutes. Enjoy.
Heading to Ivan's house. Just finished a delicious breakfast. Bikinis.
Here we are at Ivan's, and you can see the Ivan Mobile, the mighty Subaru Crosstrek. I don't see any of the other boys' cars, so even though I'm late, I think I'm the first one here. And there it is. Ivan's man cave. Oh, the door's open. There's Ivan's backup man cave. Cool. The old skid plate relegated to living outdoors. Very sad. Good day.
Morning.
Morning. Hey, nice new toy.
Yes,
Very nice.
it is a toy.
Ooh, haven't cut off any fingers yet?
No, I haven't really had much time to play with it. It is a toy. Any self-respected machinist would laugh at this, me included. But
That's nice.
when you got limited space and you just want to do bushings and shit, it's fine.
And the new valve cover for Chris's HP2 looks good. Chris has brought the missing part.
The missing part.
So the
Which they've
little
had put aside for like 6 months now.
the little
I'm surprised they
nub
still
right
had it.
there that we flattened. That is not much of a nub. Wow.
But I guess
All
it
right.
makes sense. There's no torque on that.
I guess
There's
if
no-
you're not an idiot, it's enough. That was a group idiot effort, though, I think.
Yes,
Yes.
it was. It was a lack of pain.
And now,
It was-
in 7 short years, Ivan could just make you one.
That's right.
Right.
Here we see the crash damage from Ivan's little spill. We got the handguards, tank, foot.
Ankle.
Oh, a little shavage on the Moscow. Not bad. Not bad at all.
Lucky the tank is still okay.
Ooh,
Big boxes from Germany.
those Germans.
Well, because that was where I found it the cheapest. The tail, just because I think I'm going to need one day.
I'm gonna break it for sure.
You never get enough tail.
Never enough. Brand new fuel tanks that I'm gonna put away into storage.
Virgin
Virgin
when you actually
bunghole.
break it. Yeah.
Because this bike I will never sell, and one day these will no longer be available.
Funny, I've heard somebody else say that.
Well, yours is going to last forever, sitting here in
Sitting
Ivan's
here,
garage.
It's just gonna preserve itself for a very long time.
Ivan has printed us all gifts. He will now demonstrate.
Washing these, drying these are a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I know. I always stick a bottle up. Well, mine opens.
Bottle?
Yeah, something
To keep it open, yeah.
to keep it open.
Yeah,
And like,
that's something else. Maybe I'd need to keep it open. I just shove a
So
paper
this
towel.
hooks in here.
So this, hook this wherever you want. Hook this here, like so, and then your tubey dingly do goes like so.
Oh,
fancy.
See?
oh, but now you need something to keep the bag open.
Well, that's the thing. These are different than if you have a Camelback with the opening
it's
of the
kinda-
hole.
Yeah, no, I have
so-
one like that, exactly
so-
like this.
so
where
I
it folds
didn't- I
over on the
didn't-
front.
Yeah, what I
go
did
to
is
that
I-
extent.
I took a plastic coat hanger and I snapped it off, so I just have
Yeah,
one
just
arm,
something
and
to
then I
keep it
just shove
open.
it open, and it springs open inside it.
So push the bike up into the rain.
Hi, folks. Riley from the Awesome Players Off-Road Motorcycle Club, and thanks once again for joining us. As you've probably figured out by now, we were back in Ivan's garage trying to get Chris's HP2 back together. We actually hadn't worked on the bike since the end of April, and it was now the end of September. So we had screwed up the previous time and flattened out that little nub on that cam chain gear. Chris had ordered the part, which was actually in stock, and it had been sitting at the dealer for months. So he had finally gone to pick it up. And now it was time to throw Ivan's bike out in the rain and get the HP2 up on the stand. Now when we shoot these videos, as you can imagine, there's a lot of banter back and forth. So we do quite a bit of editing. And here you can see Super Dave has just walked in. So every time I make one of these videos, I have to make some decisions on what is appropriate for the wider audience and what's appropriate for the inner circle, shall we say. And when I was editing the part about the little 3D printed piece that Ivan gave us all, I came across a clip which I kind of hemmed and hawed on whether or not I should share it. So I'll share it as an example of some of the material that maybe normally doesn't make it into the videos. But I will warn you that if you're watching this with younger children, perhaps it's time for them to leave the room. But here, take a look at some of the actual humor of the Awesome Players Off-Road Motorcycle Club. So what, you may ask, is this? Well, all the Awesome Players are getting older, so what this is for is this goes,
your colostomy bag.
this goes exactly where you think it goes, and then you hook your balls on here so they don't hang in the toilet water. And now you see why we do so much editing in our videos. We actually had quite a bit we wanted to get done. Chris really wanted to get his motor put back together. We also wanted to do some repairs to the mounting system for his skid plate. And Dave had rolled in and wanted to get a new front tire on. Obviously, we all love riding motorcycles, and there's nothing better than getting together with your buddies to go riding. But I've got to say that over the years, I think I've come to enjoy working on the bikes with the rest of the players almost as much. There's something about being in a garage with a bunch of bikes and a bunch of tools, trying to get a bunch of repairs done that that just leads to a good time. And frequently, when it's all over and done, and you look back at what you accomplished during the day, it can actually give you quite a feeling of accomplishment. I think for a lot of us as well, who sit in an office all day tapping away at keyboards, there's something about working with your hands that you just don't get in the regular 9 to 5 for most of us. When you're at one of these maintenance days, and there's a lot of different jobs going on at the same time, the key thing is to figure out which one you want to be a part of. Over on the HP2, Ivan and Chris
were trying to put this motor back together, retime the camshaft without wrecking yet another sprocket. And I could hear them talking about top dead center and torque value settings. But meanwhile, over on the floor, Dave was changing a tire. And changing a tire is something in the Awesome Players we do a lot of. And doing it in a nice warm garage instead of on the side of the road with bugs biting your face in the dirt seemed like a much more appealing alternative than fumbling around in the guts of a boxer twin. So I decided to help Dave get his tire done. A maintenance day is as much a social event as it is a mechanical one. And throughout the day we would have quite a few visitors. Jason showed up with his fresh new baby.
New player.
Oh, wait.
Oh, fumble.
A little bit later, Marc Olivier dropped in. Despite all the visitors, work was actually getting done. The boys on the HP2 were making some good progress.
Let's do this again. You know, it helps when you don't put the wire through the center where they're supposed to be the
Where the
camshaft.
splines go.
Yeah.
Actually, there are no splines because otherwise it wouldn't have slipped.
Did you worry if somebody was going to take
Where?
organization from the...
Are we happy? Are we happy? We have a plan.
I don't give a shit.
Is it a good plan?
I really.
As always, maybe somebody
We don't know.
will take it on take what?
Baldrick
The,
did
from the
plan.
organization.
It's a cunning plan.
No, it's it all makes sense. I have a lot of faith.
Okay.
Trying to sell it to...
We're doing the safety wire to the chain again.
Well, we're just
no, because...
slightly concerned the gear might fall down inside the engine, which would suck.
Oh.
So we're just putting a leash on it?
Why? You don't. They have them in stock.
Sure, it's more an issue of finding the gear inside the engine case.
Is it magnetic?
It is.
Over on Dave's bike, the tire change had gone really smoothly, and we were bolting everything back on and torquing to spec. Here you can see that Dave has written the torque specs right on the bike, which is pretty handy. And if you ever get sick of looking at them, a rag dipped in a little acetone will take that Sharpie right off.
Get in there, Bill. How many Newton hectares per deciliter?
65,000.
Not bad. Oh.
Hey, what were the brake calipers? Do you remember?
33.
Back at the HP2, it was the moment of truth. We were going to torque down the brand new cam chain sprocket.
Come on.
Ah,
That was
65.1. Overshot by 0.1.
Oh, and you work in the aerospace industry? They tolerate that kind of BS?
Yeah.
Then it was time for a blast from the past. Henrik showed up.
Good, good.
I would, but I can't. This is your first hobo.
It's crocodile. it's crocodile Dunvegan.
How are you, man?
Good,
Good to see you.
Because he's ready with the DR.
All
New
right.
rider.
He knows pain.
And he doesn't.
He knows.
He doesn't modify his DR, so it goes
Oh,
great.
it runs.
So it works well. No, he put a big tank on it. He put the
Oh,
big,
no!
that's it. You ruined
But
it. It's working so far.
This was a little video clip that I found when I was going through the footage, and I think we've all been there. You're at someone else's garage, and you're looking through their toolbox trying to find something. Only took Chris about 30 seconds to find that missing socket. Eventually the crowd thinned out, and work started getting done.
There. Yeah.
Most important modification of the day. Go as low as you can.
Hang on a sec.
We call this the Dave modification.
Right. I think there's still a layer of fibre there. Yeah, there is. But now my fingers are out of the way. Keep going, keep going. Okay, got it. Is it red? Is somebody bleeding? Right, no, keep going. Do it again. Again? Yeah, because now I'm holding it. There we go. Got it.
It's Dave's.
Perfect. Woo! There we go.
You think Ivan's going to mind us doing this to his boots?
Couldn't give a shit.
Because we don't know who's holding the drill. Notice how the second one was done
Put
with
it
a
in
lot
there, but
more
don't spin it. Just hold it.
confidence. Uh-oh. Dave, get your hand right near the drill bit.
Okay, okay, go. That's it. And now I can really find the hole. Do it again. Got it.
Good?
Good.
Then it was time for another milestone. We were going to spin the HP2 motor through one complete revolution and see if anything hit. Because the last time we did this incorrectly, it wouldn't spin. So Ivan whipped out the wrench, and we'd see if this motor would go all the way around without anything bending.
These should be tight because now we're on the compression, exhaust, and intake stroke overlap.
Good.
I wasn't going to spend 500.
Nice.
And then now we're going to do valve adjustment on the other side of the bike.
We were starting to get the feeling that the HP2 was almost back together, but it was time for a break and a little storytelling and a cold beer.
And then the brake rotor was a wave rotor. It cut the pin holding the pads. Holy shit.
Which one is it?
So how are they different?
They're keyed. See, the notches are different?
The nubbage is different?
Yeah, there's 3 different nubs.
Oh, those Germans.
Those Germans, they are smart.
Or they know we are dumb.
Now, just figuring out, I think this goes on that lug.
The next challenge was to drill out a couple of broken bolts on the bottom of the engine that held on Chris's skid plate. We had the genius idea of using a section of square steel tubing to kind of make a jig to guide us so that we could drill them out straight.
So, first hole. What size do you want to go?
15 millimeter?
I don't know. 20.
Just take the whole nub right off.
Yep. And then we'll just take it to the same machine shop and have a new one welded on. The jig actually worked pretty well, and once we got the hole started, we removed it and finished the rest by hand. Sadly, at the end of yet another Awesome Players Off-Road Motorcycle Club maintenance day, Chris's bike was still not ready to run, so we would be back for what we hoped would just be one more day of wrenching before the mighty HP2 roared back into life.
And we are back. Let me just turn the audio on for the other boys. Where's Ivan? Where's Super Dave? All right, boys, you are back. Now, we got a new feature here I want to try out. Let me see if I can punch up a YouTube comment. What does that do? Auto push pull. Does that do anything? That ain't doing anything.
It's gonna crash the system.
Yeah, who knows? Anyways, I won't play with that. That's one thing I was going to mention, actually, is that I'm running all of this on this Windows box, and if it does crash, it'll take me about a minute to restart it. So if it does crash, just come back and the stream will automatically pick up. So we had some interesting questions. Dave, we got a few questions for you. Where's Dave? Where's Dave? Where's Dave?
Dave, you're quiet.
Oh, there I am. So Dave, questions for you. We had someone ask, why did you switch from the F650 to the F800?
Still can't hear him.
Not hearing Super Dave. Why not? Dave. Dave's not putting out any audio. Dave, you're not putting out any audio. You're muted. I got nothing coming in. That's odd. Yeah, I don't see your meters are not moving. Ivan is moving. Super Dave is not moving. Oh, Super Dave has just rebooted his system. So, Ivan.
Okay.
Let's talk about the boot. Someone asked why the hell we were drilling holes in our boots.
The boot. Motocross boots. They're very, let's say, not water resistant, but they retain water very, very well. So this is, I think Dave had done this mod the first on his boots, and
it's working, Dave. We hear you.
pretty shagged, so we put some holes to drain out the water. But we never go into water anyways. So.
No. And that was actually a mod that Dave came up with, because that's the snag. You get these boots, even a Gore-Tex boot, once the water gets in there, it can take forever to get out. And if your boots are like 90% waterproof, then man, it also means it can take a really long time for them to drive. All right, what's Dave doing here? I see his camera. Oh, there you are, Dave, you're back. All right, so let's punch up Dave and see. Dave, you hearing us?
I can hear you well.
All right, we hear you now. So, someone asked, why did Dave switch from the F650 to the obviously much prettier F800 GS? Oh, Dave! Dave is having some technical glitches there. So, let's go through some more of our... Oh, Dave? I don't know. I think Dave's on Wi-Fi, which is a little problematic. So let me look at some other questions we had. We had some people asking us, what's up with Henrik? Where is he? The fact is that, let me go to graphics 3 here, and there we go. All right, graphics 3. It's just you and me for the moment, Ivan. We'll let Dave get his act together. So, Henrik,
okay.
You know, Henrik went through many bikes in his years in the Awesome Players until he finally ended up with a brand new WR250R, which was... Are those fuel injected, Ivan?
Yes.
I think it was. So he finally got a bike that was fuel injected, always started, ran beautifully, got 150 miles to the gallon. He then decided that that was far too expensive to run. So he bought a 40-year-old sailboat, because we all know that the key to saving money is old boats. I think the only thing possibly that sucks more money would be an old airplane. So for those asking, it was actually the lure of the sea that took Henrik away from us. Another question here. The boot hole we answered. What about Chris? Well, Chris, I think he answered himself in the chat. The reason you haven't been seeing much of Chris is that A, his bike was broken, and B, 2 small kids, life, renovating a house, all that good stuff. But Chris had all the good intentions of being back this year. And of course, this was the year where the world shut down. So hopefully when the lights turn back on, Chris will be around. So I think we answered, why does Henrik not ride with us anymore? Oh, Dave! Dave is trying to get back online. I can hear him. I think we've answered, where is Chris? Who else do we have on here? Let me just go in the chat.
Dave is on the
Angel
delay
Face Moto Rider. Hey, you are late. We delayed the show till 10:30 waiting for you, but at some point we couldn't wait any longer, so we had to start. All right, Dave. No, Dave was there. He's gone. So, one of the things people ask about quite often is the douche rope. So, let me just punch up a shot of the old douche rope here. So, this is our douche rope. Now, what this actually is wire pulling tape, and basically it's a kind of woven material like a strap with no stretch. We used for pulling wires and stuff through conduit, and it's dirt cheap. I think I bought a spool of 1,000 feet for nothing. And initially we just put a little beaner on it with a loop, because it was easier than, oh, you can see I really prepared my props here. We had a loop, so when you wanted to install this on a bike to grab it so that it could be recovered, you didn't have to thread something, you could just clip it. And in a later iteration, we added this metal ring, so that, where am I here? We added this metal ring so that you could just clip it on. So basically you put this around a crash bar or even around both forks, which works quite well, and then you can pull it. And then, depending on the viral status of the world, you make this longer or shorter. This one's actually been cut. Normally there's a loop at the end because it's a bit slippery, and then we'll normally put another loop a foot down so that 2 people can yank on it. And you want it long enough, we probably go 15 feet, so that whoever's pulling is generally not standing in the mud hole with the bike. And as you can see, unlike a lot of other straps out there, I mean, it packs down so small, you can just stick it in a pocket. I see a lot of guys using, you know, these big orange kind of automotive recovery straps and stuff, which is massive. Like, no, this is great. Jam it in your pocket so you always have it. And if you walk to go help a guy and realize you need it, you're not going back to your bike to get it because it's in your backpack or in a pouch or in your pocket. So that is the douche rope, and I think we already covered.
And it's longer than 2 meters.
It is longer than 2 meters. So it is COVID virus approved. So that, and
social distancing.
Yeah, and I think, Ivan, you did some towing with it. The snag with it on the HP2 was that it was abrading underneath the cylinder and kept breaking.
Yeah, so it snapped a couple times.
And that was the cheaper material. I found some camouflage strap, which were cool.
That was not
and it was
the original.
But the original material, if you watched our last video, Dave towed me, you know, an ATV guy towed me probably 10 kilometers in the forest, and it was strong enough that he snapped it a few times tight, and it lifted the 701 with me on it right off the ground. Dave, I see him. Dave's back. Let's punch up the trio here. Where's our trio?
Dave is
Dave.
chatting.
Where is he? There we go. Hey, Dave. So we were just talking about the douche rope. So if you saw that other video, Dave towed me 40 clicks with it. And the ATV guy, like I said, he lifted the 701 right off the ground. It did not break. So I don't see needing anything meatier than that. Dave, what's happening there with your connection, man?
I have no idea. I can see you just fine, but there's no audio that I can. I'm hearing you on the iPhone.
Okay, but we can hear you now.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay, so question. Why the F800 instead of the F650?
I rode Riley's F800 for about 300 meters, and the difference was night and day between the 650 and the 800. It's so big that
Your audio's crapping out.
Well,
Dave.
I'll write a note.
All right. So I think, as someone who rode Dave's bike, we'll just look at Dave because he's purty, but we can't really hear him. Yeah, the big difference between the F650 and the F800 is in the suspension. You got more ground clearance on the 800, and even though in the 800s the suspension ain't great, it's a lot better than the 650. But having rid the 650, and we're talking about the 650 twin here, which is still 800cc motor, it is a lot nicer on the road. I rode a pretty much brand new one on the road, and if you're just going to be carving the twisties and doing whatever, it is a much nicer ride than an F800 GS for sure. Let's take a look in the chat again. Oh, here's one. Frank, Dave, this is aimed at you. It says, once again, Riley and Ivan do all the heavy lifting.
Say that again, Riley.
Once again, Ivan and Riley are doing all the heavy lifting.
Oh, ouch. Damn.
Nice.
That's a bit unnecessary.
Someone wants to know if Dave is using Bell as an internet provider. I think you're a Videotron guy, aren't you?
Videotron.
Yeah, he's with Videotron. Yes, but we've
all
had.
In the house.
We could have a separate broadcast on all of the fun we've had with Bell over the years. Any other bikes interesting you guys? Well, that's something I'm glad you brought up, because our good friend Ivan got the chance to do something very interesting this year. I was contacted, or the Awesome Players was contacted by Triumph North America, and they said, why don't you send someone to come down to, where was it, Ivan? Where was this event?
It was in Tucson, Arizona.
So yeah, they invited us
Yep.
to send someone down to Tucson for the 2020 bike launch. I would have loved to have gone, but it just didn't work schedule-wise, so I threw out an email to the rest of the players, and Ivan was able to make it happen. I think I even stole an image. Where's this image here? Yes. Let's punch this baby up. There you go. Nice. So basically, Ivan got to go down there, and he was, asked to, I don't know, they didn't really have a lot of strings attached, did they? They just wanted you to, like, ride the bikes.
It was, the Triumph motto is for the ride. So I was basically there for the ride and really didn't know what the hell I was doing there, We don't usually get these kind of invitations, so at the beginning,
Did
actually,
they give
we were
you
kind of
that shirt?
suspicious, but yes.
Product
Yes, this
placement.
one.
You saw it here. The awesome players have sold out.
We gotta do at least that little bit, It was interesting. So it was just no strings attached. Try out the bikes. It was something totally new for them. They usually do this event, they said, for their dealerships. They bring down all their head honchos from their dealership. So they do all these trainings for the new product line, for the year, their objectives, blah, 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 all this corporate stuff. But this year, prior to that, they brought in 40 people from all over North America to just try out these bikes for a day and a half. It was, it was a lot of fun. Now, the new thing, I guess, in marketing is the influencers and things like that. So some of these people that were there were totally into it, the Instagram thing and all that. And I was like, younger people. I was actually one of the oldest guys there, so of the people there. So, but kind
That's one thing that was frightening when you see that video from 5 years ago. We were all looking a little fresher 5 years ago. So you got to ride the big Bertha there, right? You got to ride this baby, but you also got to ride like more the dual sport version. Was what, the 900?
The new Tiger 900, which is the one I really wanted to try the most, being we like our off-road stuff. Really nice bike. I liked it a lot. It's all-around big bike. Yeah, it's definitely up there with the GSs and the big KTMs and all that for sure. And the Rocket 3, which was honestly, I loved that bike. I didn't think I would like a type of bike like that, a street bike especially. But I was blown away by it. It was really, really fun. And then I also had the Fraxton RS, which is the cafe racer, which was really cool to boot around. And then there was also the Street Triple, which is the naked crotch rocket type bike and all that, which I was like, meh, not really what I prefer, but so yeah, 4 bikes and all. Just to ride, why not a little bit?
Nice. And I heard through my sources there was some vandalism.
I don't know.
Yes, you devalued.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Apparently some of the bikes were defaced with stickers.
Yeah, there's some sketchy off-road motorcycle club put stickers on some of the bikes there. That's what I heard, apparently. So I don't know. Nothing.
Nice.
I'm out of coffee here.
All right, Dave, are you back?
I don't know.
Yeah, we hear you.
Tell me,
We
am I
hear you,
back?
Dave. We hear you, Dave.
Okay.
So I had to answer your question for you, Dave, about the
That's fine. You carry on
F650.
answering my questions.
So, all
It
right.
was lovely on the road, but it was terrible off-road.
Now, this year was kind of a hardcore year, or sorry, last 2019 was kind of a hardcore year for the Awesome Players. We had quite a few injuries. So if you saw in the video, Ivan, you were wearing a cast, so you broke your ankle.
Yeah.
And that's 90% done, right? That's healed up.
Yeah, it's pretty good now. It's a bit stiff, but yeah. So I've been off the bike since Sunday, 21st of July last year. So it's been a long time since I've been ridden a bike.
Nice. And Dave, you had a hernia operation.
Yeah, I had a double hernia operation, which made lifting the bike a little bit more tricky, but it meant I kept it a bit easy towards the end of last year. And, you know, probably thankfully this year is going to be a lighter year anyway.
So it is true that Riley and Ivan do all the heavy lifting. I see. But at least you had a medical reason.
Hey, I didn't go out there with you lot to do this myself, you know. You're supposed to be doing it all for me, I thought.
Exactly.
This is the way that serfdom works.
And the other player who got injured was Mark. We were doing the Dakar, and Mark had his Africa twin fall on his knee and just tore everything. So Mark actually has some cadaver ligaments. And cadaver ligaments, complimentary here in Canada due to our socialized medical system. So now Mark can not only walk and ride motorcycles again, but oddly enough, he can tap dance. So that was just one of the side effects of those cadaver ligaments. All right, let me jump back into the chat here. Hey, some for Seb. It's pouring here. It must be pouring here too. So some for Seb's got an interesting channel if you want to check it out. Who else is on here? Angel Face Motor Rider. Angel Face Motor Rider is from Calgary, and she's always surfing around on all the video blogs, especially the moto vlogs here in Canada. Who else have we got on here? Man, we've got 190 plus people watching. Oh, I just got a message from JP, and JP is just reminding us that he broke his hand at the Fundy Adventure Rally with us. And that was interesting because he didn't actually know he'd broken his hand until we got home from the rally. And the funny part about that is that you're at the Fundy Adventure Rally where you're going to do 500 kilometers in one day with some really gnarly terrain. But how did JP break his hand? Walking down the steps from lunch. So the incompetence of the awesome players can strike at any time. All right, what else? So let's sift through. If someone's got any questions. One of the things people ask about is some of the camera equipment. So we are pretty much an entirely GoPro family. So I think Ivan's got a GoPro. What's yours, Ivan? A 4?
4.
Yeah, Ivan's got a 4. Dave has got the new 7. And I've got a 7. And I gotta say, on the 7, the image quality is noticeably better. There was kind of a dead zone when you got into the 3 plus, the 4, the 5. I had them all. There wasn't like massive leaps in quality, but certainly with the 7 and 8, it is noticeably nicer, and the stabilization is wicked. I mean, Dave, you were wearing yours in that chest harness on that one ride in Calaboga we did, and the image was
I've got a chest
beautiful.
harness which has got I've got a chest harness which has got the battery in it, and so it can run all day pretty much but the quality of the video is great.
Yeah, it's decent. So the snag is like I was using where's my cam here? I was basically using an old 3 Plus, and the beauty of the 3 Plus was you could still get these big batteries. And with these big batteries, you're running 4 hours plus. And normally I use it in loop mode. I mean, part of the problem with this stuff is if Ivan's got a camera and Dave's got a camera, and everybody rolls 8 hours a day, and you get back, it's a nightmare. So you put it in loop mode. You hit record, and it keeps 5 minutes, keeps 5 minutes, and when you hit stop, it just keeps the last 5 minutes, and the rest is deleted. So then at the end of the day, you end up with 20 or 30 clips of all the little interesting bits as opposed to 8 hours of garbage. But the snag is the image quality on these 3 pluses, sound quality is not as good as well. So enter the 7. The snag is if you turn on all the bells and whistles on this puppy, you're looking at not even an hour. I think I did some tests. If you got 4K, GPS stabilization, all that crap on, it's, what, Dave, 45 minutes? Maybe
40 minutes.
40 minutes,
is the best I
depending.
can get out of it.
Yeah, it's crappy.
It's fine for skiing a run here and there, but it's just no good for all day on a helmet.
Yeah, it's that really lackluster performance. So I was looking for a solution. I finally found something interesting, which is this little gadget here. So basically, you take off the door, you glue this onto the frame that comes with it because the GoPro 7s are waterproof without a housing. And then you've got a little USB-C cable with a gasket that sticks in, and that's, you're not going to go scuba diving with it, but it's waterproof enough. And then this basically just keeps the cable from pulling out. And then on the other end, you've got a standard, I mean, is this a USB-A? I don't know. Whoever keeps inventing new formats of USB should be murdered, because now there's mini, micro, USB 3C, I don't know. Anyways, you take this, you plug it in to a little cheap $29 battery bank from Costco, and this thing will run all day. So that's going to be kind of the new setup for video once the season starts. Yeah, you can, you've got this thing and it's potentially a bit of a pain in the butt because where's this plugged in? And I keep my helmet camera on my helmet, which means if I want to take my helmet, if this is plugged into the bike, I got to unplug it, but then it'll just automatically switch over to the battery in the camera. So I can plug and unplug, or I could keep the little battery in my pocket. So that's the plan for that. And as Dave mentioned, Dave's dropped off the face of the earth again. As Dave mentioned, let me just go back to Ivan and I. As Dave mentioned, he bought this thing that goes around the GoPro and gives him like 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, whatever it is of battery life. So that's what we're doing. The other thing that I wanted to show you guys was the patches. This is something I've been meaning to do it for a while. We have these embroidered patches, which I only made a few initially, and they were just going out to the guys here in Montreal. So we are going to hopefully get these up for sale where you can buy the stickers. So if you go to awesomeplayers.com, at some point, hopefully these puppies will be for sale. All right, let me dig into the chat here again and see. Oh, hey, there Ivan was demonstrating. Let's go to the Ivan cam. Yes. And
nice patch. This is the new Climb line of awesome players.
Yep.
The face plant.
The new Climb Awesome Players line. Oh, Ivan just froze. Woohoo! Oh, Ivan was actually streaming out of his cell phone. Oh, Dave! Dave is trying to come back. So yes.
It cuts in and out.
Yeah, that's the snag, I think, with Wi-Fi. Like, I'm here in my garage, but I actually am running a wire. Oh, Ivan, you're back.
Hey,
so yes,
I'm back.
We were talking about the new Climb line.
Yeah, the faceplant line from Climb, cast not included, brings you to the level of awesome players riding.
And I think the Climb line for Awesome Player also has extra odor protection. Or added
That's
odor, one or the other. I can't remember.
One or the other.
I missed the meeting.
Either way, it doesn't smell good.
Just another example of us selling out as a club for free stuff. Although, sadly, have we ever gotten any free stuff? I think I got some free straps from Green Chili. And we got free crash bars, Dave.
Crash bars.
We got free crash bars.
Yeah.
So if
big shout out to
Outback Motor Tech, and I gotta say those are nice.
That I've ever gone on the bike. These have been really good.
So if you spend 10 years making motorcycle videos, buying thousands of dollars worth of camera equipment and computer equipment and hard drives, you too can get $300 worth of free stuff. So it's certainly worth it. All right, folks, if you got any questions, this is the chance to ask us. Oh, I got a message from Dave. Dave, you're sending me text messages.
Yeah, it keeps
All right.
cutting in and out,
So
I'm probably going to cut off myself.
Anything about the club, the equipment we use, now's the time to ask, because we have at least 4 more weeks of quarantine. So, let me see here. Hey, Charles Landry, hoping to have another event on the East Coast for you guys. Yeah, we love going up to the Fundy Adventure Rally, and we're still planning on going up to the Fundy area in, when is it, Dave, September? Yeah, I think we were still planning.
So I've
Who
not
knows?
cancelled it yet. We're just waiting.
Yeah. Where did you get the waterproof cable for the GoPro 7? What was the name of that company, Dave? I sent you the link. Was it GR8? Dave's going to do some research. Hold on. They make a bunch of different versions. They also make something for the Hero 8, but it's not as slick in my view. What else we got? Riley, I'd love to know where your F800 GS is gone. My F800 GS was actually traded in to the local BMW dealer. And full disclosure, when they asked me if it had ever done any off-road, I said yes, and their mechanic inspected it, and it was pretty obvious from the underside of that bike that it had seen a lot of off-road. So I was open kimono on that whole process, and it was sold within like a day off their showroom floor. So I probably could have got a little more money selling it privately, but it was just easier to take it to the dealer. Someone asked, any new bikes that the players are interested in? I know Jason is very interested in potentially the 790 at some point, and I'm kind of interested in that. I'm actually terrified to test drive one, because that would just lead to marital strife, financial ruin, the usual. I know Ivan is still madly in love with his 690. So no mistresses in the future there, Ivan?
In the future, no. It's the same thing. It's financial, and it's all the rest that goes with it. I can have a ton of bikes in here. You see, I got a lot of space. I got an HP2 right there.
Yeah, but Chris didn't leave you the seat.
I don't see.
That's Chris's security measure. No seat. Oh, here's something from Philip B. Question. We want to host you guys at our event in March. Les Mammouths. You think that event is still going to happen? Would love to go there one year. Yeah, I've actually heard about it. You would love to go there. Ivan, you know what that event is.
Yes, I know. I've never been. And some of the guys, but usually it's past now, because they do it on the first weekend where we're legal on the roads with the motorbikes, and it's up north of Montreal, so you end up riding on the snow. So it's just a big get together.
Oh, hold on. Dave's got some breaking news.
Barbecue and everything.
Yeah. So there it is. So what's the name of that company, Dave? It's hard to read. What's
3BR Power Sports?
3DR Power Sports.
3BR Power Sports. That's where you get the cable and the housing.
That's where you get the cable. So Ivan, maybe
for,
1 year.
GoPro 7.
Yeah.
$55.
$55 for that cable that you saw I had on mine. So yeah, Ivan, I think it would be fun 1 year maybe to try that out. And I could always bring the Ural if I didn't want to fall over.
Yeah. I've seen that a lot of people that have them, they go up there with the Urals and all that. And if you dress up with the fur coats and all that from out of the your mother's mothball-y closet or whatever, even the better.
Yeah. So I think that's potentially something that could
Pretty
happen in
interesting
the future.
event.
Yeah, it looks like a cool event. Who else? Oh, am I still enjoying the 701? I am still enjoying the 701. I've got to say, I'm not like madly in love with it, but I think it's just because I kind of like the bigger bikes at some point. I bought it just for something new. I'd had the 800 for a long time, and the 800, man, was rock solid. I mean, I think Dave, you can testify to this too, because you've had two different bikes with that same motor family. Jason had one. Who was the other fellow, Ivan, we rode with on the Classique that one time? He was the instructor for the police or the customs guys.
Oh yeah, I don't remember his name now.
But
yeah,
he had an 800. JP had the
800.
650 with the 800 motor. Like I said, Jason had one, and the motors, there was some problems with wheel bearings and stuff, but the motors, man, super solid machine, but heavy. So I got to say the 701 is pretty feathery compared, but it's got 70 horsepower, but it's not big bike horsepower. Like a twin cylinder bike with 70 horsepower to me feels more powerful just because the power is just there. You're not rinsing it out as much, whatever. But I do like it, and I've got it nicely kitted out, but I could see something maybe like the Yamaha 700 or the 790, which I'd love to test ride, and then maybe someday, my wife's not watching this stream, I hope. Can someone here tell me, Ivan, he said basically, Ivan, he was only one of 3 Canadians that was invited to Triumph Moto event with Snowcat and Stan the Moto Man. So Ivan, you were just one of 3 Canadians there?
Yeah, exactly. We were the 3 Canadians. One was from Calgary, which was Snowcat, and from Vancouver was Stan the Moto Man. 2 really cool guys. They have YouTube channels and Instagram and all that. We had a really fun crowd of people there. Got along
nice.
really well with them.
What do we got here?
Say that.
What type of starter batteries do you use in your bikes? Standard lead acid batteries or lithium starter batteries? Well, we can tell you stories about lithium batteries.
This is just like choosing what's the oil you use, huh?
Yes, but I can tell you this. If you have a big, perhaps 2-cylinder BMW in the 1200cc range, and you decide you're going to buy a battery, a battery that's this big, that looked like 4 D cells because the guy at the store told you it would do it, be prepared to be jump-started a lot. And yeah, we went through that, and when it was cold, it was a nightmare. So I think, you're going to save a lot of weight with one of those lithiums, but buy one that's the same size, and then you have overkill. So Chris went through, did he go through 2 of those? He went through a couple, didn't he? I don't know.
But then Chris goes and buys the
yeah.
Saskbat Special for $40. And maybe I can give a demo.
Oh. Uh-oh. Ivan got us all excited about doing a live demo, and then he dropped off the face of the earth. Too bad. But yeah, Chris went out and bought this $45 lead acid battery, and it barely starts the HP2. Oh, here, Ivan's back. Hold on, let's go back to Ivan. All right, Ivan, give it a crank.
Well, the garage is warmer today, but
Oh.
nah.
Come on. Give her.
That sounds healthy.
Oh.
Hey, Chris, your bike is getting nailed, mate.
Yep. All right,
So
and we've got a comment here from New York Dirt Riders. Anti-gravity battery in my Honda Africa twin works works epic. Yeah, and I think you know
That's
what,
what I
if you
have.
buy the right size, and that's what you have, Ivan.
Yeah, no problems.
Yeah. So basically, don't be a cheap bastard, I guess, is the moral of the story. If you're going to buy a lithium battery, don't take the one out of your watch and stick it in your bike. Sorry, Dave, I didn't hear you.
I just got a standard.
Yeah,
I've just got a standard battery, but the amount my bike stalls and falls over, it's never let me down, so it's pretty good. But it's the right size for the bike.
You know, and this year yesterday, I took the Ural, the Husky, and the little dirt bike the kids have, the Honda 110. All three of them out of storage, regular batteries, no charging over the winter. They all started. And oddly enough, a lot of us, like Joe, who you remember from some of the early videos, he had all of his bikes on the fancy chargers over the winter for a few years. I don't know how many batteries he destroyed, boiled dry, had problems with. So I think if you are going to charge it and do stuff over the winter, you pull it out, do it once or twice over the whole season. Oh, Ivan, do we have a situation there in your garage? That looked empty, man.
It's empty. Hey, this is the one from the maintenance videos too, so it's not too bad, you know.
And of course, if you're not familiar with Coureur de Bois, it's actually booze. Is it booze made from maple syrup, or is it maple syrup flavored booze? I don't know.
No, I think there is maple syrup in this.
They just add it to the goodness.
Canadian whiskey and maple syrup liquor.
Here it is. We got a question from Robert. What is the most memorable non-camera off-road moment? Dave has once again fallen off the planet. Most memorable... oh, you know what the most memorable one was for me? It was way back in the early days. We were crossing Black Lake. And if you look at those old videos, we were always crossing Black Lake. We used to go down, do the Scotch Road, and we'd get to that road that just disappears into the lake, where the water would be super deep because we were idiots. And then on the other side, there was another kilometer of river. And I was riding along there on the F800, and I gave Chris the camera, and he was already on the other side. And it was this epic water crossing. And I hit a rock. I went to put my foot out, and the 800 fell over and just disappeared underwater. It was gone. Just the little nub of the handlebar was sticking up. And then I yanked it up and whatever, and I thought, wow, it's a friggin' disaster. You know, the headlight filled with water, the bulbs exploded and whatever. And then I got it to the other side, and I said to Chris, just please tell me you got that shot. And Chris said, oh, yeah. And then he hit the button, and I saw the record light go on. So I knew he thought he was stopping the recording, but he was actually starting it. So there was never any documentation of that event, which was, for me, at the beginning, I was like terrified of something like that happening. It was pretty memorable. I don't know, you, Ivan, you got into something that's happened that was not documented?
Well, not documented and in very recent for me right now is because there are tons of memorable moments, but was and kind of still awesome players related was the Dakar last year. Finishing that event was insane.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, the Dakar is not the Dakar. It's a town in Ontario called Dakar, D-A-C-R-E, and for quite a few years, I think it was every second year, there was an event where you had to do roughly 900 kilometers, some odd, in one day. Most of it, a big chunk of it, off-road. Some even single track, you name it. And obviously hard. You start at 4 in the morning, you got 24 hours to finish. So that was the event this year where I was on a team with Super Dave and Mark, and our plan was to do half. Our goal was to do half, which on the big bikes, and given our physical shapes, seemed like a reasonable objective. Yes, low center of gravity being key to our strategy.
Exactly.
We set off at 4 in the morning, and we made it 50 kilometers, and that's when Mark destroyed his knee. And the second group at the event that had some awesome players on it was Ivan, and it was you, Pat, and who was the third guy?
And my good friend Eric, who had done it in the past. So the story is I did it the year before with Mark, who also he hurt his foot a bit further down, and with Chris, and that's when Chris had his spill and broke the HP2, and that event was crazy enough because of a windstorm and all that. So that ended there. This past event was more of a do or die. It's a shit show of an event. The attrition rate is like 95%. Nobody finishes this event. So, or very few. And so this time was do or die. Let's get it done. And we had 2 teams, and just really wanted to do it as a challenge. And so doing that, you have to finish as a team. All 3 bikes start, all 3 bikes finish. It's not a relay race. It's to replicate a day at the Dakar. And it was 900. He's already on it. 985 kilometers off-road, mainly in 23 hours and 15 minutes. So that was
nice.
Very difficult. We won the event in the class. And there was another team that finished that were on much smaller bikes that finished right behind us. And that's it. Nobody else finished.
And I'll just add that weekend was insanely hot. I mean, it was, sleeping in a tent in your own juices. If you got a 4 a.m. kickoff, which means you're getting up at 3 a.m., so you already start with no sleep. And so Ivan Ironmanned that puppy. And for us, and I was going to hopefully show a little footage today, but I didn't get a chance to get it organized. We only rolled up until, like I said, 50 kilometers, but just doing trail riding at 4 a.m., where on the trails it was pitch black, totally different perspective. But then when you hit the gravel roads, the dust during the day is not the same as at night, because at night all your headlight is getting is the dust. And when you're, shall we say, not the fastest team, that means you're at the back, like we were. You were chewing a lot of dust. So that was an interesting event, and it's too bad that Mark had a fall, and it was one of those weird things where, sometimes you have a fall and it looks spectacular, and you get up and walk away, and on this one, he went up a little hill, and the bike kind of fell on his knee, and man, he started squirming, and I know there's there's the meniscus, there's all those different things you hear when people wreck their knee, and I think Mark wrecked all of them.
All of them?
Yeah.
Well, all of our damage, our broken bits this year have all been basically stupid little accidents, like JP, just a slip on the stairs.
Yep, sober.
Mark was sober too. Mark was, it was a slow speed fall, like we fell like dozens of times before.
A million
and
times.
Myself, it was coming back from a rally. I was going super slow in the morning. I was going to have breakfast on the side of a lake, camping and all that. And it was one of those what the fuck moments. I'm on the ground. What happened?
Yeah.
And it's over.
Jason.
It's
Jason MC just said, here's a memory. Chris trying to show off with a wheelie and ending up in the lake was another moment. We were down on the Scotch Road, and Chris was practicing a wheelie, and he shot off the road, glanced off a tree, took a big chunk out of it, and then he flew off the bike and landed in some bushes, like actually holding him over water. And no one had a camera running too. That was a memorable moment.
I think there's a picture somewhere.
Here's a question this would actually be good for Jason. I know Jason's watching. Do you guys wear knee braces?
Yes,
I know.
I do now.
Dave does now. I know Mark got complimentary knee braces after they sewed his knee back together. And Ivan, Ivan, have you been wearing knee braces for a while, or did you just buy these?
I just bought them.
Yeah, so I think we're all... Dave just bought some. Dave, which ones did you buy? You got the...
Oh, crikey, I knew you were going to ask me that.
Are they Liat?
I don't know, X-Brace.
X-Brace?
Yeah,
I think those are reasonable.
X-Brace.
I think... And with everybody's knees exploding,
good.
My wife actually got on my case, so I think I'll be wearing them. I was going to actually borrow Dave's for the Classique, because Dave wasn't going to the Classique this year before it closed, because I wanted to try them out. But in answer to your question, everybody seems to be wearing them. When was it? 2018 or 19? Jason was at the Fundy, and he had his knee braces in the cabin.
Yeah.
Instead of on his knees. And he fell, and he's like, oh, my knee. Where's your knee? Well, even with your knee braces, you hurt your knee? They're back in the cabin. So, yeah, I think it's probably not a bad idea. Oh, Jason, his comment is being hidden there. Why? Because did he use profanity? What does it say here? Oh, F you. I think he wants to friend me on Facebook, because that must be what the F stands for. Ivan, somebody says, you have too much money, Ivan.
We've been telling him that for years.
Oh.
We've been telling it's...
No.
Right.
Guys, what you don't realize is
Buy
that...
cheap, buy twice.
Yes, this is actually Ivan's entire house that you're seeing in this shot. His family are waiting outside in the rain before they can come back in. So
I give them an umbrella.
yes, they have an umbrella, a complimentary umbrella from KTM. So it doesn't leak water, it just leaks oil. What else we got here? Jason MC says, my knee has yet to heal. Oh, that's good. Just want to say to Super Dave, thanks for being a good sport. Aw, Dave.
Hey.
I didn't know
You're
your
welcome.
mom was
And on
watching. Oh, JP. JP has sent me a message.
Right, I'm gonna have to leave this this fun and laughter, so you can just talk crap about me for the next half an hour while you're drinking beer.
All right, sir. Dave is signing off. All right, Dave. We'll chat later.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Yeah, take care, people.
And then there were only two. All right. Let me see. JP just sent me a message. What did it say here? Open Messenger. So JP, what did he say? I broke my hand in Fundy in 2018, and it lasted a year. Yeah. And I think that was the same ride, Ivan, where you were there for the Classique in 2015. I think that was when we met JP. And JP, are you on the chat on YouTube? I don't see JP in the chat here. What else we got? Is Super Dave replacing Henrik in the group?
No, nobody can replace Henrik.
Nobody can replace Henrik.
Nobody can replace.
And Dave's
Henrik
bike always starts. Yeah. No, but Henrik is irreplaceable. I think Ivan was working on a sock puppet with a beret, but I don't think he ever finalized the design.
Not my talent, sewing and putting buttons for eyes and things like that.
And basically, where's the guy with the mighty DR? That was Henrik. What tires do you guys run? And the person spelled tires with a Y. So it's too bad Dave's not here, because it must be if someone from the continent, or I guess whatever, the other side of the pond. I'm running D606. I like the D606 in the front and the rear, and for me it's a great compromise. It's gnarly enough off-road, it wears decent, cheap. I know, Ivan, what are you running these days?
These days I've been running the Pirelli XC mid-hard, front and back. I also like the D606, but the Pirellis, you can flip them around when they kind of become a bit choppy on the knobbies. You can flip them and get a bit of wear out of them more. So, as long as they got knobbies.
Is it true you like using that tire because you enjoy saying mid-hard?
Yes, mid-hard. It goes with the age. Gotta censor that.
Okay, someone wants to know, what model is that mill combo thingy in your garage?
Jeez. That is a Smithy Granite 3-in-1 type deal. It's a toy.
All right.
I worked as a machinist for a long time, so it is honestly pretty shitty. But when you got lack of space and you want to do bushings for friends and things like that, it does the job. But any self-respected machinist is not going to want to work on that thing. It's okay.
Right.
It 13-inch swing, drill press, does everything.
Nice.
It's a handy tool.
I'd like to just do a little quick shout out to Marcel. Marcel dropped this beer off at my house.
At the end of the driveway?
He did, at the end of the driveway. Yeah, and then I let it sit for a few days to let all the ebolites crawl off and die. But no, so thanks, Marcel. What else do we have here for questions? Let me see. Bald tires are the best. Yes, that's Chris's recommendation. How many members are you? That's a good question. We are, how many kind of full-fledged members are we? So there's me, Ivan, Dave, JP, Mark, Jason, Chris.
Chris.
Is that it? Man, pretty sad.
Active now?
Yeah, I guess that's about it. Is anyone else worth? Oh, Marc Olivier has been coming out. And we got a few other guys that have come on a few rides, but like I'm saying, people watch the videos and I get this comment quite frequently saying, oh, it must be so nice to have this great bunch of guys. They don't see the unedited footage. So that's it. We have 7, and then in terms of what I would call the associate members, which are the people who have a sticker on their bike and a certificate on their wall all around the world, I don't know. I've sent out over 1,000. So I don't know. I don't have a firm number on that, but we're probably 7, 8 guys here in Montreal. Let's see. Must be 5 o'clock somewhere. It is. I think in Australia it's something, isn't it? England, Australia, somewhere. I gotta say, this is the first time I've had this beer, St. Ambroise Double IPA.
Middle of the night.
All right, what else we got? Hey, Sharif. Sharif. Oh. Okay, that's odd. I said Sharif's name, and my iPad thought I said Siri. So I will not say your name again, Mr. Elko. I won't even try to pronounce your last name. Yeah, so he is one of the guys we've ridden with, or we hang out with when we go up to the Fundy. And I gotta say, the Fundy Adventure Rally was such an awesome event. It's really sad that Eric and his wife, who were the organizers, have kind of gotten so busy that it's not happening. But what did Riley? When are you taking the old 708 for a spin? Didn't take the 701 for a spin, but I took the Ural out yesterday just around the block with the kids, because in Quebec there's kind of a no motorcycling thing happening, because if you, I don't know if you drove through a sneeze cloud, or if they're kind of saying if you got injured in a motorcycle accident, you tie up all kinds of resources which need to be there for COVID, whatever. So I kind of figured if a kid can ride his bicycle around the block, I can ride my Ural around the block. But I don't think anyone's, and there's lots of bikes out and the police aren't arresting anybody. It's 5:34 in South Africa, Ivan. So it is 5 o'clock somewhere. Cool, man.
I guess so.
What do we see here? It's 5:34 in Germany. Holy crap. Is that 05:34? Is that 5 a.m. in Germany? No, it must be 5 p.m. in Germany.
No. It's almost supper time over there.
Supper time. Okay, so now we also know that the time zone in South Africa and Germany are the same. Vlast, yes, Vlast. We always see Vlast and Denise at the Fundy, and it's always awesome to see them again. So yeah, that's fun. What else we got? Not sure you talked about this, but why a Husqvarna over another BMW? BMW really doesn't have a bike in that category, and I could have bought a 690, but the 701 is just, I think Ivan, you'll agree on this, is just so much prettier.
No.
What else we got here? Did anyone here see the video that Everride did comparing a pile of dual sports? The winner was the Husky FE350. Yeah, those bikes, it's hard to get in Canada, street legal, but the thing is, that's just a whole, you know, the whole dual sport thing where people get into the bike. I mean, we get a lot of comments where people are like, why are you riding a 701? It's way too big. It's stupid. You should be riding a 250. And the same thing when we were riding some of the bigger bikes. Why are you riding these big bikes? It's silly. And we always come down to this thing, which is if you're riding a bike and you're having a good time, it's the right bike, bottom line. And I mean, Ivan, I think
Every
you're
bike
in the
is
same
good.
mind.
Just, yeah, you know, that's why I stick to my bike. It's been rallied and, you know, it has the big fuel tanks and everything. It's because I can have one bike and it has to do it all. So if I want to do some single track, it's a nightmare. It's too big. But if I want to travel, it's okay. It's not a 1200 GS, but in between, it just does everything. So that's why I like this bike. You know, it could, you know, doing an event like the Dakar, anything in my mind bigger than what I have on the class that we did is a lot of trouble. And the other guys, like I said, the finish, they were all on small bikes. But, you know, one bike does it all. Doesn't do it great,
a compromise.
But what you got. Exactly.
You know, like if you want to bang out 1,000, yeah. If you want to bang out 1,000 kilometers, a 1200 GS is great, and they are surprisingly good off-road. I mean, if you're a good rider, we've been at events where there's been guys on 1200 GS adventures, like the Classique in 2015. Who was the guy on our team there who had that 1200?
Serge.
GS adventure? Serge. I mean, the guy.
Serge.
And we also had a Super Tonnerre there with the Viking. I mean, those monsters. Bikes, those guys just went everywhere. You better be in shape and you better have some skills, but they were going everywhere any other bike went. So it's possible. Got to find where you're comfortable with on the compromise scale. And what happens sometimes, you buy that 250, you just do harder trails. So you just end up in the same exertion level anyways. Awesome Player Scotland. Hey, Awesome Player Scotland. Would you make an event that all of us around the world can join? Yes, I think that's something I'd like to do at one of these future things is have some people remote in from all over. So that could be fun. Someone said, hey, you agree with Ivan. With more bikes, you end up not riding any too much. That's the other problem is that, you know, if you have multiple bikes, there's a cost to that, especially here in Quebec. What do we pay for a license plate this year for
$680 something?
$680 for a plate.
For one bike.
I mean, you have your personal bodily injury insurance is built into that here in Quebec, but still, so if you run any bike over 400 cc's and it's $680 and you got 3 bikes, spending $2,000 on plates. Insurance is cheap because it's really just the collision liability part for a couple $100, but still, if you're talking almost $1,000 a bike to get it on the road, and you're only riding...
And our season.
Yeah, you have a short season here in Montreal. You've got
6 months, so...
You know, you might ride 3 weekends a month, meaning 3 Sundays a month, a few events. All of a sudden, your ride price gets down to $300 a ride. So, multiple bikes, expensive. What do we got here? Jason, remember that mud pit. Yes, so much easier to handle the big bikes we have at home. Yeah, because like Vlast, who's writing here in the chat, I know that he and Denise have an F800, a Triumph 800 as their big bikes, and they also bought the 250 rallies, I believe. So, in a perfect world. Our friend Sharif, hey, that didn't trigger Siri. That's good. $46 in Nova Scotia per bike, but then what's your insurance? The thing with Quebec is that license plate has all of that bodily injury loss of earnings, all that stuff built into it. And that, if you do need it, is amazing. So it's decent. Yeah, somebody here, mini mix. You need a Swiss Army bike that can do it all. Hey, as soon as they make a 350-pound bike with 150 horsepower that costs $6,500, gets 100 miles to the gallon, and you can do a valve adjustment in 15 minutes on it, I will be the first person to buy one. Well, Ivan might be the first person.
I can do a 15-minute valve adjustment on mine the way it's set up.
Nice.
Mine is easier
Good.
maintenance than the stock
And
bike.
by the way, my 701 needs a valve adjustment, so as soon as we can cough on each other, I'm bringing it over to your house.
Wash it first.
I will, yes. When I did the valve adjustment on the 800, cleaning it took longer than the valve adjustment. So, what do we got here? Let's dig through here. So, I'm scrolling up here, folks. Where's Henrik? I think we answered that. You should get another. You should have got another HP2. You know what? When I bought the F800 GS in 2008-9, HP2s were not selling. They were sitting on the showroom floor, and they were $1,000 more than an F800. But it was such a tall bike and whatever, and of course, knowing what I know now, I should have just bought one, wrapped it in plastic, and I would be selling it for more money now. And that's the thing with certain bikes, like the HP2, the old Airhead GSs, they're holding their value. I mean, my F800, when I sold it, was less than half, whatever. If Chris sold his HP2 in its current mint condition, he'd probably get, I'm guessing, pretty close to what he paid for it. So yeah, it would have been a nice idea. Who's Patrick J? I'm a distant neighbor of Riley's. Where are you at, Patrick J? Cost me less than $200 here in New Hampshire. Insurance, plate, and registration. That's because you live free or you die in New Hampshire.
Or you die.
Yes. I always thought that was interesting, that New Hampshire, live free or die, and then you drive across the border into Maine, and it's vacation land. So, new rocker arms. Ivan, what's your opinion on the rocker arm situation with the 690 motors?
For me, they're a maintenance item. I change them at 20,000 K. You know, they're not that expensive, and it's not hard to do. But yeah, the spring pressure is high. They're high revenue engines, so they should be done. I actually have them right here.
Oh, hey, Patrick is from Vaudreuil Dorion. Well, if you want to store your bike, Patrick, just head over to Ivan. It's free.
These are the originals, and they wear out from underneath in the roller pin. So just change them.
Yeah,
20,000 K, 25,000 K, change them.
That's the thing. I don't think it.
One of the tricks, I think, from Lyndon Poskett mentioned this. The guy who's gone around the world for the past 5 years has done his rally, which is essentially the motor, same motor, is put them at the minimum tolerance, a bit tighter, because the inertia of the tapping and all that, it's hard on the bearings. So put them at the minimum of the spec to make them as tight as possible, and leave them there, and it'll help them out.
Yeah,
so just change them.
A lot of the issues people have with certain motorcycle brands, to me, is perception. Because in the BMW community, anything goes wrong, people get their underwear in a bunch, and they're like, I bought a BMW, I paid all this money, I can't believe something failed. As someone who owned a Goldwing, back in the day, I had a Goldwing for 10 years. They had alternator failures, they had cracking parts, they had a bunch of issues. That's a Goldwing. Henrik had an ST 1300 for a while, and there was known issues with that model, and that's a famous bike for being rock solid, reliable. So a lot of it is the attitude of the owners group. Like the KTMs, I think the owners are just more accepting of the fact that they need maintenance. A lot of them come from a more motocross background, so they're used to getting their hands dirty. I mean, the BMW crowd is is maybe a little more full spectrum in that I've seen guys bring their BMW to the dealer to have a GPS mount installed. You know, literally to have something clamped onto the handlebars. So if that's the kind of rider you are, it's, you know, something breaks that's super minor, yeah, you're probably going to be the guy who gets on the internet and starts complaining.
It's the thing, you have to think about what you're actually buying, you know, like KTM, they say right out of the box, they say ready to race, you know, so it's anything that says racing and all that is going to be more high strung, and racing is synonymous to maintenance. They're very light bikes. They put out a lot of power per cc. When you hit that 100 horsepower per liter or 1,000 cc's, you know, that's anything, street car, whatever, that's getting to be in the high end, and they require more maintenance. Just don't neglect it, and don't leave a backlog of it, and you'll have no problems, you know. It is, and there's basic stuff, common sense. Like the fuel pumps on the 690s that say people, oh, they failed, they're not reliable. They've had cases, but most of those problems are operator error, meaning that the fuel cap on the back that collects all the mud, clean it off before you open it up, and don't put a ton of shit into the fuel tank.
Ivan, have you had any experience with that?
Yes, I have. Not the fuel pump failure.
But you did.
Having shit fall in.
What were you doing? You just opened the cap and a big chunk fell in?
I cleaned the cap nice and clean like I always do. Open the cap. Put my head down to put in the gun to refuel, but I forgot to clean the top of my helmet, and there was a big glob of mud, and it was like hole in one, went straight into the fuel tank. So
nice.
Got home and just stripped the whole thing down and emptied the tank and cleaned it out.
So we've got a few comments about the perfect bike.
Universal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got the
fuel
few
pumps
comments
on these bikes are universal.
Someone said, "It's the KLR." Someone who's owned 2 KLRs, I can say no. It's a good bike.
I've never ever ridden in a group with KLRs that I have not had to stop and help fix the KLR. So,
yeah, we've had. You know, the funny thing is, and someone made this comment on one of our old videos a while ago. I mean, I own 2 KLRs. They were fine. I mean, for the value is certainly there. I think the problem with KLR owners, and it was my problem, is I bought it and then I started spending money on it, trying to turn it into something it wasn't. So I started pumping money into the front suspension, the rear suspension, all kinds of stuff. And, you know, at that point, you should just be changing bikes, in my view. Everybody's, you know, my opinion's worth exactly what you paid for it. But so when people say,
if you're going to have
what
a bike
I do?
and you just can afford that, go for it. Why not?
It's great. And I always say to people, put a skid plate on it, put handguards on it, ride it. But don't go down the path of trying to turn it into something like a touring bike, guys putting huge windshields, whatever. Get a more touring-oriented bike. If you want to be more hardcore, then probably, you know, other than respringing it a bit for your weight, I just wouldn't go farther. I mean, you know, there's better choices. And like I was saying, we had a comment in one of our videos about, oh, these overly complicated BMWs and whatever. The fact is, on all those rides when the Awesome Players started 10 years ago, and yes, this is our 10th anniversary year, we never had a single problem with the BMWs. And everybody had a pile of them. It was always the carbureted bikes. We had XRs, we had DRs. Those were the bikes that had issues. And part of it is just carbureted bikes when they get older. And they're upside down, and they're whatever. We had, I mean, to this day, if I hear the starter motor of a DR from a kilometer away, I know what that sound is because I spent so much time listening to a DR trying to start. So even the DR, same thing, great bike, but just don't try to turn it into something it's not and spend a crap load of money. You'd be better off buying a used 690 in my books than spending thousands of dollars on one, you know? And KTM's 950 Enduro, that too has kind of become one of these bikes that's, I think, holding its value because it's a bit of a unicorn.
Super Enduro.
Super Enduro, like that's a sweet bike, and there's not many of them. What else do we have
Those who
here?
don't know what it is because you're not ready for it.
Let me go down. Oh man, I'm missing a little. I sold my HP2 Enduro and got a KTM 950 SC. Love the HP2, but could not justify the price. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, there's multiple things you're balancing. You're balancing the on-road, off-road, displacement, weight, power, like big bike, little bike thing, but you're also balancing the finances of it. Yes, I mean, it's great to say that the 701 is a better bike than a KLR, but you can buy a minty KLR for what, $3?
Probably.
And if you're buying a 701, when mine came out in 2016 and there was no used ones, you're paying $13 or whatever. So man, you're talking 4 times the money. So is it 4 times the bike? Probably not. But so that's it. Those are the decisions we all make. Vlas,
if you want to ride,
this is the perfect day to do this.
You want.
Absolutely miserable rain and cold. Yeah. I mean, I haven't looked outside. We mentioned it earlier, but did anybody else? Ivan, you said you didn't feel the earthquake this morning.
Nope.
3 a.m. I woke up 3:20, whenever it was, and I was like, what the hell was that? All right. Long Rider. Howdy, guys. Howdy, Long Rider. We have a bit of a delay here between Ivan and I, so that's why sometimes we're kind of talking at the... Man, all of Jason's messages are held for review. Somehow Google thinks he is a dirty bird. Back in 2012, I bought a 640 Adventure to do a year-long trip, and the reasoning was that it was going to be a shit show. I think the word shit is what triggered the filter. And that would generate some interesting moments. It's too bad. We got to get Jason on here maybe on the next one. But Jason bought a 640 Adventure in mint condition. I think he was able to use a washer on the handlebar. I think everything else he changed before he went on his trip. But he rebuilt the motor, the bike, straightened it, did all kinds of stuff, and went on a trip across Canada and then all the way down to the tip of South America on a 640 Adventure, which, as we all know, the 640 Adventure was originally created to mix paint for Home Depot, and then it evolved into a motorcycle. So Jason had quite an adventure, and it'd be fun to have him on here one day to talk about that. All right. Only been riding for a little over a year. This is from Triggerfinger. My first bike jumped straight onto a KTM 990 Adventure. Yeah, I mean, that's another question. You have people who are saying, man, you should never buy a big bike early on. You should start with something and ride it. And I kind of do agree with that in a perfect world. But by the same token, if you want to buy a bike because you want to take the wife on vacation and do things, and you're not in a position to have a 250 and a big touring bike, some for Seb. Congrats on 10 years. Thanks, buddy. Here we go. Love my 3-year-old Africa Twin. Most versatile bike I've ever owned. Never let me down. Yeah, I mean, we ride with Mark, and he's got the Africa Twin. And man, that is, I mean, I think it's amazing value. Sounds fantastic with the factory exhaust. And I demoed one with the automatic transmission. Super fun. That's it, but it's a big bike. It's heavy. You know, and Mark actually enjoys taking a big, heavy bike off-road. That's his thing. And there's people who comment on the videos that you're an idiot for doing that and whatever. Hey man, that's, you know, the easiest thing would be to stay home. You know, the easiest thing would be to sit in your garage drinking beer, talking to strangers over the internet. Here we go. Denise says, thanks for the shout out. Hey, Denise, thanks for putting up with Vlast.
That's mean. No.
Oh yeah, they're a super couple.
Yeah.
I gotta say,
they get a lot of riding up.
They get a lot of riding
done.
done.
Traveling and all that.
A lot of
nice
traveling.
stuff they do there.
Vlast, I don't know if you want to post in the chat your photo site. Vlast takes a lot of amazing photos, and they actually have one of the few Facebook pages where when I see one of their posts, I look forward to it because it's always great stuff. So yeah, that's good. Oh, Vlast just responded, ouch. Vlast has spent some time with us, so he knows our sense of humor. Another 2017 Africa Twin owner here, and I love it, have done serious on and off road with the bike, and that's called New York Dirt Riders. Yeah, I mean, the other thing I think a lot of people don't wrap their minds around, and Ivan, maybe you can chime in here at any time, is that when people have these dual sport bikes of whatever flavor, I think they whatever the brand, they totally underestimate how solid these bikes are. You come from a street riding background where if you dump your bike, it's the end of the world. People just don't realize that whether it's the Honda, the BMW, a KTM, whatever, these big bikes, mid-sized bikes, whatever, they can all take a pounding. I mean, we did the Fundy. There was a guy out there with a Stelvio one year, a Guzzi, pounding the crap out of it. I mean, are there still bad bikes?
I don't know. I think anything is good. Anything will do. It's just, just go out there, ride, have fun, stay within your limits, and any bike will do. If take what you got, and it'll do its job. And yes, don't expect it to keep its nice shine and be scratch free if you want to do off road. That's like it can't be a trailer queen or anything like that where you want to keep it spick and span and spotless. Otherwise, it's a nightmare. But if you can get over that bit of getting a whole bunch of awesome player stickers to hide up the scratches, then have fun, go off road.
Yeah.
Even if it's just the country lane and all that, it's fun.
And I think that for a lot of people, the natural progression is you start riding motorcycles. Just the fact that you're riding a motorcycle is so much fun. Every ride is amazing. And I know for me, riding on the street, at some point that just started to fade. And the only way it was going to be, the very first rides, just driving down the highway was exciting and scaring and fun. And at some point, to keep yourself entertained, you got to keep raising speeds and doing whatever. While off-road, you can be going 50 kilometers an hour and sliding around and doing whatever. And I think that's why we see a big shift to this adventure bike. And, the joke of the guy parked at Starbucks exists at a certain level. But you know what? If you're riding a 600-pound bike and you have no off-road experience and you're driving down a very easy gravel road and it's scaring the crap out of you, you're having an adventure. And someone can always say, hey, I've been riding a motocross since I was 2. I don't understand what the big deal is about that. That's not an adventure. And certainly for me, started off-road riding at 45 years old on a F800. Man, all those early rides, which I look at now, we went to the sand pit and drove up a hill that you could drive a Honda Civic up. That was an adventure. So I think everything's relative. So same things, no wrong bike. If you got a bike and it's keeping you happy, more power to you.
I was actually a bit apprehensive at the at Triumph in Tucson in February, because it had been okay since last July. I hadn't ridden a bike because of my ankle, but it had been, I don't know how long. I couldn't remember the last time I actually rode a bike without knobbies on the street. So that was a bit odd for me.
Yeah, well, I got Player Pal from Norway, who's a regular contributor. He's asking, Ivan, the 690 and the 701 are kind of brothers. Are they similar to ride? I think, yeah. I mean, it's
I would say, yeah.
I mean, they have slightly front suspension is different. The linkage is different in the rear, but grosso modo, other than, you know, people cheering when you drive by on a 701 as opposed to throwing Rotten Tomatoes at you on the 690, I think the actual experience for the rider is very similar.
I guess they're very similar. Riley, your 701 is more recent than my 690. And I have a 2012. Yours is 20. So you have a
16.
Like 2 generations of the evolution of the 690 motor. I have the first generation of the true 690cc. Prior to that, they were 650s, and you have one of the more recent twin spark. So, but still pretty similar, I guess.
Hey, Super Dave is now in the chat. Super Dave says, Ivan looks 5 years older than he did at 10 a.m.
I ran out of booster, and I have no beer in the garage.
This is a sad story. Where do we got here? Yes, trigger finger. The key is to have fun. Once it stops becoming fun, that's when it's time to change bikes. Yeah, for sure. You know what? I think that's the key, because we've gone on rides with the WR250 on the low end of weight and power spectrum, all the way up to 1200cc BMWs on the other, and we all go riding together and we all have a good time. And sometimes what it means is, you know, the guys on the smaller bikes don't get as whipped. When the guys on the big bikes get stuck, guys on the small bikes get on the end of the douche rope and help out. And then at the end of the day, everybody's just as whipped. So the poor guys on the 250s didn't actually have an easier day after all. So Christopher Lyon, the Stelvio was great off-road. Yeah, I mean, and even then, off-road, define off-road. You know, for some people, off-road means single track. For other people, it just means not paved. You know, it's hard to say.
At Dakar 2 years ago, there was a guy on, what's that, the Ducati Dual Sport, big monster of a machine.
Yep.
Like, I was even surprised that he wanted to put it in the mud, but he trashed that bike. Holy crap, was he ever riding the hell out of it?
And I had a chance to ride what's the Ducati Scrambler? One of Super Dave's buddies brought one to the sandpit and I rode it. And other than not the greatest ground clearance, man, it was amazing. Super low, long, stable, tons of power, sounded great. So for a bike that looked amazing, you could drive to work every day, bomb around being Joe Cafe, racer kind of guy, and then you could go out and do some mid-level trails on the weekends. But if someone said in one of the forums, oh, I'm going to buy a Ducati and start doing dual sporting, man, people would pile on and say, that's the wrong bike, you know? Here's somebody, Gilly 28, I'm on a small bike because I get wiped on I'm assuming on a big bike. Yeah. You know what? That's the other thing is, like we're saying, if you're going to be riding a big bike, if you have great technique, you're not using a lot of energy. But when you're starting off, like that Classique in 2015, remember Super Dave and JP were on those BMWs, and both of them were new to off-roading, and when you're new to off-roading, you're muscling it. And you're tense, and you're stressed. I mean, those guys were soggy biscuits, man. They were done. Like, halfway through the day, it was over. Oh, got a little... Oh, Ivan has dropped out. Anyways, folks, I don't know how much longer we should keep on keeping on. I mean, I still see we have 160 people watching. Has anybody got... Oh, here's Super Dave. Yes, the Ducati that we were riding in the sound pit that day was the Ducati Desert Sled. Was it the 1200 or the 900 last? It was the 900. Yeah, and here, Gilly 28. I ride a small bike because I get worn out on a big bike. Yeah. What else we got? Off by noon. All right. What time is it now? We are at 12:05. So, my goodness, we've actually been on for 2 hours. And I just said, my goodness, which means you can really see I'm making an effort not to use profanity. All right, folks. Ivan's laptop has died. Super Dave is gone. So it's just me here. So I think if there's any more questions, get them in now. Just wanted to say a big thanks for all your efforts and keeping us entertained. Thanks, Frank. You know what? It's as a wrap up. Let's say I'll just mention that Ivan, Super Dave, Chris, Henrik, Jason, JP, all these guys who are now the core members of the Awesome Players Off-Road Motorcycle Club here in Montreal are all people that we met through YouTube. Even Henrik and Chris in the early days, Henrik I met through a KLR forum and Chris is his brother-in-law. So the whole Awesome Players thing is spawned from the internet. And as people like Henrik moves into sailing, my buddy Joe got into a different type of motorcycling, people leave, the kind of new influx of fresh blood is all based on people watching the YouTube videos and and saying, hey, let's go for a ride. So I've got to say that this whole YouTube experience over the last 10 years has been super rewarding. Oh, Ivan, you're back.
Back!
Ivan, I was just doing...
Is there people watching?
We still have 165 people watching.
Holy crap!
Either
These
that,
people
or
got
they've
really
just
nothing to do.
they've left their computers on, just wandered
Yeah, they're just being
off.
polite, I guess.
Did you go to the? I thought you went to the house to get a beer.
No, I don't know. The connection dropped or something dropped.
Bizarre. Hey, the Rollins family. Hey, Peter. You are welcome. We are trying to stay away from the bug. And he's another fellow that we met up at the Fundy Adventure Rally. Man, we met so many nice people up in New Brunswick. It was such a great event. Matthias, thanks for doing. Thanks. Hey, thanks for watching. How many videos have you posted in 2019? I don't know. Less than we should have. And we still have one more video in the Ivan Garage series, which I'm aiming to do one video every week until the quarantine is over. So we should have another one and another show next weekend. Have a good day, folks. Thanks. Gunter, thanks for all the videos. Thanks for watching, buddy. Hope Riley puts more videos out. So do I. 8-Bit Rider. Hope you have way more footage from your adventures. Man, I gotta say, it's easy to create the footage. It's easy to roll the footage. First time I watched the bike in 2 years. That's how bored I am. All right, that's from The Adventure. Triggerfinger, what's the one thing that could be better on the KTM 690? Let me answer for you, Ivan. The rider.
Yes,
No.
the rider. The one thing that could be better on the 690. There are tons of things that could be better. It's like we've been saying from the beginning. It's a compromise on a whole bunch of things. But out of the box right away, suspension could be a bit better. It's a bit harsh, but it took me a couple of years to actually see a difference between the stock suspension and having it redone. I had mine redone. I'm going to redo it again, so other than that, it's a good bike.
All right, folks. I guess we're going to wrap it up. So, as I mentioned, I think Ivan's gone again. Yep, every time Ivan goes, it kind of freezes the feed. So, folks, thanks for watching. I got to say, we're kind of on lockdown here. I'm trapped in the house with my 3 kids. And the wife and I have both been working from home. Ivan's back. So I think...
working from home.
Ivan's been working from home. You know what? I think it's... Like as I mentioned, it's nice to be part of this community. It's great. If anybody has any other questions or suggestions for what we're going to do on this show, let us know. And like I'm saying, if you go to awesomeplayers.com, you can find our email, you can see our Facebook page, whatever. And I think we're streaming to Facebook right now, but I haven't even been monitoring it, so I have no idea what's happening on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook and you feel totally ignored, sorry. Ivan, last words?
for those who can, go out and ride, have fun, ride what you got, and you'll always meet a whole bunch of interesting and fun people. We've met so many people. Go out and ride. That's the fun of it. Have fun.
Yep, and I think Ivan's put hit the nail on the head. I don't know how many events we've been at where you come across another rider who's stuck or something, and without saying a word, a bunch of people start working together, helping somebody. There's an instant rapport. People without a lot of explanation, no pull, push. You say to somebody, I'll run the throttle, you run the clutch. I mean, once you get into the woods a bit, the kind of people who were there are going to be like-minded individuals. And I would just say for a lot of people who are kind of in their own little universe, maybe you're not as fortunate as we are here in Montreal, where there's fantastic groups. Moto Trail Aventure, Ride Aventure. There's these groups in Ontario Dual Sport Club, the Bytown Motorcycle Association that puts on the Calabogie Boogie. Take that step where you reach out and find a group or an organization or a club or something to ride with, because it's so much more fun when you're with a bunch of people. It's way less scary, it's way safer, and it's less frustrating when someone is showing you where to ride, especially in this day and age where so much land is gated and private. When someone can actually give you a GPS track or guide you. Oh yes, and this is Jason. Remember the guy at the Classique that had the rear wheel buried in the cement? We came upon a guy. Were you there, Ivan? Yeah. We came across a guy who was by himself. He wasn't even doing the Classique. He was just out for a ride with a buddy. They got separated, and his BM was stuck in this weird cement where 6 guys could not lift their rear wheel out of this hole. We were bending the luggage racks on his bike. Yeah, and he'd been there for 2 hours. He was basically slightly noodlier than overcooked pasta at this point. His clutch was smoked. We rocked the bike, finally got it out, and the F800 clutch, I mean, we readjusted it and he rode it home. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, riding by yourself, a little bit sketchy. And like Ivan, when you crashed and broke your foot, you were riding by yourself, but luckily you were able to ride out. Yeah. But you had a spot. Or you had a, did you have your messenger?
I have a Garmin InReach.
You had the InReach.
Garmin InReach.
Which I think is
always
much more, I think it's way superior because you have that real two-way communication. You hit the spot and you push the button, you have no idea if they got it. Yeah. Well, with InReach and
it's another expense, but I did one ride solo for a couple days out in the bush, and then I said, yeah, you got a wife and kids and a family and all that, just suck up the money. It's and get the best equipment you can afford. And buying cheap, you'll end up buying twice. But my boots, I buy expensive motocross boots, but it saved my ankle. I didn't have any surgery or anything. It was busted nice and clean, but at least I didn't have to have any surgery, and that was because of the boots I was riding. So
well, you know what, Ivan, I think I'll give Dan Dog the final word. So Dan wrote something in the comments which I really like. He said, when I didn't have a bike, I rode with you. Once I got my GS, you kept inspiring me. When I'm shut in now, I ride with you. You're like my good friends who I've never met. Thanks for the videos. Well, thanks, Dan, for the comment.
Nice comment.
And hopefully we'll be back next week.